So we're going to move on now, and it's a brave new world for EdTech investments, and I know that there's many EdTech entrepreneurs here today, and this next session is all about EdTech investments and dynamics at play. So please join me as I welcome Shashank Kapoor, who is Director at Cypher Learning, to introduce to us our panelists for our next panel discussion, and they'll be discussing the topic EdTech investments on the rise and what's driving the boom. So a round of applause, please, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed the fireside chat. It was wonderful listening to you guys there. Now, moving ahead, I'll just take 4 words from there, the fire. Let's put some fire into the EdTech side as well. So the growth, I would say, in the EdTech industry, it's mostly because of the increased penetration of technology and more openness to digital learning. And the openness that's there in the EdTech industry is increasing day by day. So with this, I'll first quickly introduce myself, and then we'll have the other panelists joining us. And I'll ask the respective panelists to introduce themselves as they join us on board. So my name is Shashank, and I take care of the global sales operations for Cypher Learning. And Cypher Learning is an e-learning company, and we specialize in providing e-learning platforms for schools, universities, and individuals around the world. We are a US-based organization, and I'm based out of India and taking care of the operations from there. With that, I'll quickly would like to invite my colleagues out here for a quick discussion. I think we have Robert with us. Dr. Mejdal. Rohan. Rohan Tanksale. Ilse de la Cruz. Professor Dr. Samir Joshi. And we have Dr. Vivek Mohan. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. So first, let's quickly start with a quick round of introduction from towards your, I would say, ladies first.
It's already. So, hello, everybody. Good morning. My name is Ilse de la Cruz Gomez, and I'm honored to be here to discuss about this topic. As for myself, I have more than a decade of experience in the corporate learning area. That means I've been working in the corporate field for already, as mentioned, more than 10 years, and in different countries as well. So I've been already having experiences in China to work there, also in the US, and Mexico, where I originally come from, and also in Germany, where I live. And for me, it's very important to have this interconnection about education, which is very important for the growth of the community and the human being, and also how we can have this intersection to technology, because it's something that we are living, and this is also my field of expertise. In addition, I'm also a certified strengths coach, and I have gained many coaching certificates also in Switzerland and other countries as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. My name is Rohan Tanksale. I'm from India. To give my brief introduction, I was certified as Asia's 4th best innovator for the year 2013-14 by Global Entrepreneurs Association based at US. Currently, I run few companies. One of them is dealing in learning and development. So I had initially bootstrapped that company, and I'm very glad to let you know all that currently we are catering not only to India but to 28 plus foreign countries with our different services. We do undertake big corporate training assignments, big educational institutions, and we have been growing very rampantly. And it will be my pleasure and honor to share the dais with you all and interact on the given topic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Szabo. I'm the Vice President of Learning Sciences at a company called Learnship. We were founded in 2008 in Cologne, Germany, and we acquired Global English, which had previously belonged to Pearson. In 2019, they were based in San Francisco. At the moment, we're doing the post-acquisition integration. My background is adult education and applied linguistics, and I'm involved in product development and pre-sales. So this is something that was happening just before the pandemic hit, and I've had a bit of experience in the global implications for remote corporate training as a result. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, I'm Samir Joshi. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. I have a bit of a diverse background, so I'll touch upon a few things. I spent most of my adult life in the corporate world. I was a business level CEO at one of Germany's biggest companies, Siemens, heading various businesses there. I went on then to become an entrepreneur, which was by design. I always wanted to become one. I founded two companies, one after the other. Both of them are, businesses that do good service to technology and also the environment today. So both startup companies that have grown over the time. One of them is a software company also involved in EdTech platforms, so making this panel very relevant and the whole topic as well. I'm participating in the conference in yet another avatar of mine, which is that I'm also a full professor at one of Germany's largest universities, at the International University of Applied Sciences. Probably not all that well known, but over 100,000 registered students from 170 countries, making it a very big and solid institution. That's the capacity I'm here today, participating in this conference in my educational avatar. Okay, I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, this is Dr. Mejdal Alqahtani. I'm from Saudi Arabia. I'm a professor of industrial engineering at King Saud University. Also, I'm the vice president of the innovation unit at the university, and also I'm board member of the Data Science Association at the Kingdom. And also I'm AI consultant in private and governmental entities in the Kingdom. So I think the panel topic will be very interesting, which is about we are going to look at the EdTech from the investment point of view. So what are the driving factors that make those investment or is very tempting, and what are the outcome of this investment, and we are going to address also the supply and demand in this sector. So yes, thank you for the invitation, and we wish the discussion will be very interesting.
Thank you.
Hi, sorry I had to keep you guys waiting. I'm just recovering from a fracture, so I can only move at a deadly pace right now. I'm Dr. Vivek. I'm the Dean of Executive Education for the Executive Education Colleges within Westford Education Group. We serve the working professionals around the globe with about 25 university and awarding body partnerships from around the globe, and we have recently reached up to more than 100 countries in the online learning sphere. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. So I've been in the EdTech sphere for a little over a decade. I started out as an academic. I've worked as a faculty in, prior to coming to UAE, I was at Leeds and Sheffield in the UK. Afterwards, I got into online learning with Westford Group, and over the past few years, I've been fortunate enough to oversee the EdTech developments within our group and the online learning initiatives that we've been able to, do within the sphere. And honored to be part of the panel and looking forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. And thank you for the wonderful introduction, everyone. So as you know, the topic itself, like it's a very vast topic, education investment, right, in the field of EdTech. So hopefully we'll be able to cover up most of the points that are there, but if something comes up, we'll be happy in meeting offline and addressing all your queries in case you have any. So since we are recovering from the pandemic, so I would like to understand what your thoughts are behind this. Like, is the boom in the EdTech industry or the market, is it the pandemic that has caused this, or is it the general approach towards the latest trends in the market that is taking the boom in the EdTech industry?
If I could perhaps say something. Yeah. All of the investors I've ever spoken to are looking for basically two things. So the one is they're looking for scale. So that they want to make an investment and they want to see it grow. And the second thing they're looking for is profit, right? Like either in the short, medium, or long term. You can talk about what strategy is better. I think what happened in the pandemic in corporate training was interesting because it was kind of delayed the benefit for investors. So B2C apps tripled user bases immediately. Lots of people at home downloading apps. For B2C, in some cases, 30 to 40% of revenue disappeared overnight in March 2020. But in 21, when the new tenders came out, they were much bigger and they were much broader in terms of what people were looking for digital training from corporations. So I think there was a delayed effect, and I think that's causally directly related to the pandemic. Yeah.
Yes. So, it's very known that we have this type of technology already for over decades. So, in my experience, I'm also involved in the corporate learning. So, before the pandemic, I had a lot of work to do in terms of the acceptance of this type of technologies, even like basic technologies like online learning or web-based trainings, because leaders and decision makers were not convinced of the effectiveness of these technologies. So before the pandemic, what I experienced is that it was a lot of, try to convince them to use them and try it out. And when the pandemic hit, somehow they remember, oh, this lady talked to me about this online learning, so maybe we will give it a shot. So the demand increased, but the technologies have been there for a long time.
From my perspective, if we sincerely think about investors' perspective during and after pandemic, what has changed is, I think the interest has shifted more into new age economy style businesses rather than old age economy size one. 4 or 5 days back, I was delivering a training session in a big corporate in India, which happens to be perhaps the #1 player in cement. So when I interact with people and when I deliver training sessions, what I find the basic difference is the old age economy businesses have transformed or have been compelled to transform themselves more into economics of scale business. Their margins have reduced. Second, they are asset heavy businesses. As compared to that, businesses like EdTech are, in my opinion, asset light businesses. it is relatively easy to scale them up. And third, from an investor's perspective, the beta which they wish to generate is necessarily into these kind of businesses nowadays. So if we talk about our personal experiences, as we deliver trainings, we do conduct a psychology office as well. So how we transformed ourselves during the pandemic using technologies, perhaps the biggest satisfaction of doing an ethical business in my life till now has been that our team along with me have been able to save lives of 70 plus COVID patients. We were dealing with various big hospitals and we were able to bring them out from the ICU. So I think it wouldn't have been possible to do this one parallelly without the help of technology.
Agree. Yes, please.
Yes.
Take this.
Okay. Okay, so I think we all agree the technology it's there from a long time. So, but the thing is, what happened is something happened is abnormal, which is the epidemic. So this is, I think, is something people they feel there is it's abnormal thing, and we don't know when it's gonna end, and everything is shut down, and this is bring people to believe in the technology, and at that time, the people looking or the way they look at the investment at technology, it has changed dramatically. And this is accelerate the investment round. And this is what I believe not only in the Saudi Arabia, but also in other countries, it's in global. So usually like when we look at those things, we link it with the history. So so when we look at different field, when was the main development of those fields, different science, history, science, technology, whatever. So we can see the World War II is the peak. So people, they start to have more investment in the technology. So we can see there was acceleration of most of the science at that time. Why it happens? Because of the need. So they feel the one who has the more advanced like weapon at that time, then they will have more competitive advantage to win. So this is now is what happening. So there is an epidemic happened, and people they feel we lose the competitive advantage. Now we need to be or to have this kind of advanced technology to be or to lead in this market, or to have a better profit margin or whatever. So usually this is what make people try to change their mind. If something happen and they motivate their like thinking, also they help them to change their direction.
Hi, thank you. I think that the EdTech investments is not just a knee-jerk reaction to the pandemic. I believe that it has been organic. However, the pandemic has definitely acted as a catalyst. Just to give an example, I think it was reported that in the US alone, the EdTech investments amounted to 11 billion or something like that over the past year. That's a staggering figure. Back in 2012, when we brought in our first transnational partnership with University of Wolverhampton, it was a conservative partnership. We had a challenging time convincing students that this is a legit portal and it works, because people couldn't believe that you could actually, learn an entire program learn an entire program online, right? So I've always believed that it has been organic. However, I think close to 2020 personal experience, our organization had a reach of 59 countries, and 2022, boom, we have 100 countries. So definitely we have benefited from that. So it has been organic. However, the pandemic has acted as a catalyst for sure. But what research tells us is that there would be a saturation point, because at the moment, we are all playing catching up with, maybe US, because US has been the premier pioneers of online learning with advanced portals, and even the MENA region and all the other markets are playing catching up. So there's definitely a lot of potential for funding for at least the next 4 or 5 years, but then there would definitely be a saturation point for that. This is my take on that. Thanks.
Thank you, Vivek. Dr. Joshi, you have something?
He's stolen my mic, so I need to get it back first. Yes, I mean, everything's been said, and I do really believe, resonating with what you said earlier, these technologies have been there for quite some time. Yeah, I mean, I know for a fact, when I started my software company, of which I'm the co-founder and CEO now, we had an EdTech platform back in 2015. There was no word of the pandemic or anything of the sort. And this was being used far and wide although in specific niches and in certain environments, like in corporate learning and things like that. What the pandemic has done is that it's precipitated things, gotten them down to a point where there is no other option but to use technology. Although I would like to add at this point, when we talk about the pandemic and the use of technology in it, we restrict it to platforms of communicating virtually rather than communicating in person. Although EdTech is much broader, because it also involves different types of hardware, software, all these kinds of things that also come along, and even those things have been out there before the pandemic. And certainly, the pandemic makes it a point of putting this on a fast track, so to speak, which is why EdTech is definitely here to stay after the pandemic and is bound to grow as well.
Yep. Yes. Thank you.
I would like to add something, if I may. When we talk about EdTech investments, it really depends also on the budget that each organization might have. And yeah, it could be as fancy as you want to invest in that technology, but we also have like other types of technologies that can be used. And for that, I brought this cube. I don't know who is aware of this cube. Do you know this? No? Anybody? Okay, so this is called the merge cube. And this is a very, like a kind of a soft plastic thing. Well, not the material is not plastic, but anyway. So with this cube, what you can do, it's also for schools or also for the corporate world. So you can augment things and you get a haptic element to it. So I will showcase. So would you please help me with the mic? Yes. So I have, can you put it? Okay, so I have here, for example, this is the app, which is called the Explorer. And again, this is really a very soft material. And then you basically load the app. And then what you get, it's basically, I don't know if the audience can see it. So you can have here, for example, the solar system. And you can learn interactively for students. Yeah, how it works. And what I'm trying to showcase here is that it doesn't have to be huge amounts of investment to make the experience of learning a different one.
Thank you. This looks incredible. And now, since we've been all speaking about the investments in the education domain or the EdTech domain, so what I would like to understand now from you guys is, like, do you guys agree that the tech innovations and the learning innovations is finding a symbiosis for the boom in the industry? Like what would you say in terms of the relationship between the learning innovations and the technology innovations?
I think we should look at it from 3 different perspectives. The first is an investor's perspective. So since we are discussing investments, my key focus would be from investment perspective only. As far as I can say, things like artificial intelligence, data mining, UI, UX, and related things. there is a skill shortage in market. So as a business owner or as someone who is running business, part of our profit is also going into retaining the talent. So that is necessarily eating up into margins. And if we do undertake an angel or a VC investment, they are more interested in high-end margins. So as someone who spearheads businesses, it is definitely a challenge first. Now let us think from a perspective of a business person. I personally think that whatever is happening for good, but there are certain cons or challenges in it. First is the cost of acquiring the customer. The cost of acquiring a customer relatively today is high, and that is making a negative impact on the unit economics of business. So we need to do certain work over there. And third, definitely, I agree with you that it is in sync with the growth of the industry. Every industry is bound to have its own challenges, but gradually they will overcome it.
Okay. Awesome, thank you. So I would like to add another question to this, the entire discussion question that we have. So just to with the I would say the learning innovations, technology innovation merge, I would say we still have untapped opportunities in the market where the investors can go into the investment sphere in the EdTech industry.
Yeah, I think so. But just to add to what my colleague was saying, I think one of the major challenges is if you look at the ROIs, EdTech investments would have to operate on mostly on an economies of scale model, you know. So I think when you talk about the symbiosis, it has to do with maybe what's next, or what can your EdTech platform do different from the existing platforms, and how can it add value to the learner. To answer your question, I think this is my take on it. Maybe in a decade, as I did mention before, there's still a lot to catch up. But then with the advent of VR and all that, earlier I was hearing a keynote speech and we were talking about science labs for the challenges. And I think that would also be sorted with VR in the next 10 years. So we'll be in a completely complete platform with a perfect symbiosis. However, what I feel is after a certain point, EdTech companies would have to go back to the basics. EdTech companies would definitely, after a certain point, get into a conservative mode of funding. And you would probably have to, reach out to public institutions because basic economics is that, you have educated labor, then you have productivity and GDP. So that's how countries work, sorry. So this happened with Microsoft as well. After a certain point, then they had to reach out to public schools, and, public schools and governments had to fund, and they had to have that niche and that kind of segment. So I really feel that probably the final step would be to reach out to the public sector, to bring in more learners, and to have that kind of a funding for that, which would, I don't know, maybe the direction that we might take. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Thanks.
Yeah, I think we also need to make a step back, and we as educators and instructors, we also need to understand what technologies we have available. And maybe this is something that maybe not all of us are so aware, but what I want to share here is that you really need also as instructor learn what type of technologies there are available so that you can create out a different learning experience for your end customer or your students or learners. So based on that, then you can make a best analysis of what kind of infrastructure your organization has, and not just use technology for the sake of using technology, but use technology really to create a different learning experience.
Also, maybe we can think also about this topic is we have like a supply and demand, especially from the investor point of view. So if I'm projecting the demand will increase rapidly in the near future, so for sure I will invest money there. So we hear now about we hear about the EdTech, we hear about FinTech, also health tech. So all of this is the trending worldwide, and there are a lot of investment happening there. So because those technology will accelerate the business growth. So if we see like the market size for the EdTech globally, so it's projected to be around $106 billion. This is 2021. And this is projected to increase to reach about $126 billion in this year. And it's also projected to reach around 429 by 2030, with around the compound annual growth rate around 16.5% every year. So this is a very good sign for the investor to believe in those technology, to find the right technology and the right context and with the right data, because those technology will be based on, they're gonna be a process, analyze and build some products and services based on that data. So he needs to find the right data in order to have a very healthy ecosystem.
Yeah, on that point, there's a risk here when investors sit around the boardroom table and extrapolate from data that they see and the growth that they saw in the pandemic. And they want those projections to increase and they want to make more money. They put pressure on the CTO of the EdTech company to simplify, to automate, and so on. And the risk of all of this is that qualitatively your product stops working at some point because you've removed as many humans as you can. And the micro decisions which are being made by education professionals are not being replaced. But you've got the scale, but you're not doing anything with the scale anymore, and your projections don't materialize. And I think that's where the companies need to bring together interdisciplinary groups to properly guide the investors as to the realistic, healthy growth patterns and how a company should develop over a period of years instead of every quarter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Right. So I guess there were a couple of things. I mean, you talked about learning and tech symbiosis at the on one hand, and obviously coupled with the topic of investment. And one just needs to take a step back and figure out what the goal is. Yeah. And if the goal is basically to democratize education, basically make it available to as many people as possible, to everybody, then I would say not much has happened until now, or very little has happened. And these market estimates, and you're absolutely right, yeah, going to about 230 billion by the end of 2028, I guess, or 2030 approximately. All those are driven numbers, yeah, and these growth rates all make it sound very attractive and all that. But I guess one needs to just, go away from the statistics and see what has happened thus far and how much potential is still there. And anyone who can make this correlation, especially if they're an investor, will automatically see an opportunity and nothing else but an opportunity because there are, and we work with a lot of economies, countries where education is way beyond a privilege. Yeah, we take it to be a granted thing in the Western world and in many other countries that may not be developed economies, but education has made its inroads deep down. But then there are others where this is it hasn't even touched the places where it has to. And to get there, obviously, that whole market is ready and open. So there's a lot of possibility for a lot of investment there, even before going into any numbers or tweaking anything that is out there right now.
Awesome, thank you. So now since we are speaking about the statistics, the boom and the bubble, so what do you guys think that in the future, will people start investing in reskilling or upskilling? What kind of investments will be there in the reskilling or the upselling investments?
And that's driving most of the business we're doing right now, is that after the pandemic, you had people in hybrid or fully remote, And so the way that they work created these virtual global teams. And a lot of these teams weren't particularly effective at the beginning. So a lot of these projects, people have never met each other, but that's their team. So when L&D people reach out through the tender process, looking for a training provider, it's reskilling and upskilling basically, because otherwise, no matter how good the technical specialists are, the project's going to fail. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay. So definitely this is something that I can also observe from the corporate world. So this is, both are really high in demand. Why that? Because so we have a lot of decisions to make also as leaders and decision makers in the field of the corporate learning specifically, because you mentioned that I think a very high demand on skills and especially IT skills, but that's another topic I would say. But and then what we need to make the decision is like make or buy. From the human resource perspective, do you really invest in the people that you have already and what type of learning you offer to them and how you can attract others that already have the technology or these skills with them? So it's really a very complex environment at the moment, but you really need to have like a very broad view of what is happening in the market, because now we have a really candidate-driven market. So companies are no longer in the luxury to decide on the candidates, but rather the candidates decide if they want to join your company or not. True. And one element that many candidates now are looking is what type of development opportunities you offer to me. With what technology, with online learning. So they are really also very much investing in their own development and selecting organizations that offer them their best place to grow.
I think, yeah, I fully agree, but I think I think both upskilling and reskilling, both should happen, would happen. But my take on this is that the model itself is going to undergo a huge transition. Because we are looking at bite-sized learning and things like that, because of changes from the changes to the Gen Z and all that. And so if you're looking out to the future, I just read that TikTok, because of TikTok, EdTech companies are seriously looking at really looking into bite-sized learning and how you can adopt that to programs. Because with online learning and with accessibility also comes the attention span. Because unlike a brick and mortar model, for online learning to sustain, it has to be, along with being accessible, it has to also it needs to have a sustainable model in terms of learning. So I believe that the model itself is going to undergo transition. Along with skills.
If you allow me just to just talk a little bit about our experience in the kingdom. So in Saudi Arabia, we have a vision called the 2030, if you are heard about it. So this is a very ambitious vision, and one of the main pillars of this vision is the national transformation. So it's the national transformation. It has a specific program, and is gonna align with the different sector, including the educational sector. So at that part, they need to do national transformation. So we are targeting to transform the education using those or leveraging those new technology. So also we have a program that is related to talent development program. So this is related to upskilling and reskilling the existing employee, students, and also leaders to make sure they are fit with this vision. So we have different initiatives that aims to build, or it aims to promote and accelerate different sectors, including the education. And so to achieve that, so we need to change the equation. We need to prepare people prepare students, employee to be ready for that, to make that such a change?
Even I would like to add few points in this. What we see in our practical experiences is we all need to learn the art of learning, de-learning and relearning. Why that has become a necessity? Because almost every sector is facing disruptions. We deliver training sessions at power plants, so the conventional thermal-based power plants used to produce power something around, I'm talking in Indian perspective, something around 4.5 rupees. Now with the advent of solar power plants, the cost has reduced to 2 rupees 20 paisa. We deliver trainings to big automobile companies. So just take a simple example. A conventional two-wheeler, which an average Indian used to ride, used to have at least 2,500 small and big components inside it. Now, what we deliver trainings on electric vehicles and all, so it is an entire vehicle is going to have only 800 components. I can give you countless examples in the same. And second, the average product cycle of average businesses have significantly reduced. In certain industries, 20 years back, it used to be something around about 12 years to 14 years. Now we see with our clients and in general, the average product cycle has reduced to 7 years, 5 years. So even we as business promoters need to go back, learn, relearn and de-learn. That is what I feel.
Okay, so you talked about reskilling and upskilling, and that is in the nature of things. You know, whenever technology is introduced into the play, and as technology grows, one needs to grow along with it. Yeah, and also the people are involved in it. So you know, in earlier days, we used to be learning how to operate fax machines. Nobody even maybe in the room knows about. Very few people might be knowing about it, or telex machines. Now we use computers or smartphones. Yeah, so that's just an example of how technology basically changes the paradigm and keeps changing it all the time. And EdTech and technology in education is no exception. So that's going on all the time and will continue to go on and get more and more dramatic. I guess the point to look at over here is, you know, and when you introduce technology, then, you know, into this very potential cocktail, you just also throw some AI into it. Shaken, not stirred, by the way. So, you know, the whole thing becomes even more interesting, right? You know, now you're talking about things like adaptive learning, and the academician or the teacher sitting behind the system, designing the program, has to not just reskill, but also upskill themselves, right? Because they are not interacting with the student directly, but the program that they are putting together or having put together through a developer, hopefully a company like ours, which will help out, basically would require them to upskill enormously and to think about many more alternatives which they could easily come to in a one-on-one interaction, which would be live. They would have to come to that, but now they're not live in front of the students, and the student is making those mistakes or going through their learning experience, and the computer, the program needs to adapt to that. So there is a lot more onus that comes on to the teacher of thinking about a lot more scenarios, and in the process of that, they not just reskill, but also upskill themselves.
Yes, and I will also add on that note, because maybe many of you know that skill life expectancy in the past, it was around 30 years. So you learned something in that apprenticeship program, and then you could live out of that. So nowadays, a skill actually has a life expectancy of 5 years at the most. And the tendency is actually to be lower. Yes. And there are new technologies coming, there are new challenges worldwide coming. So in the future, we will have, you know, people working in jobs that don't exist today. So we really need to be aware of that the type of lifelong learning, it's kind of a skill that should be continuous for all of us.
Mm-hmm. Agree with you guys. So taking further from Dr. Joshi's discussion, and also considering the time, and let's then open the floor to the audience for some question and answers. let's end our discussion with some examples you would like to share in the innovation that you look forward for in the EdTech space.
I would like to see a functioning chatbot that would simulate human communication for business purposes, because at this point it's not possible. The potential branch is almost infinite and it breaks quite at a low level of proficiency. And I hope that I'm alive, and I would like to interact with that particular, because it's close to a general intelligence that would be required. So that's for me, yeah.
Okay, so I can continue. So for me, it's definitely the topic of Metaverse for learning. Correct. Because we can create with the Metaverse like immersive learning experiences. And that's one of the mottos that I also have. It's really to create experiences and not lessons through the Metaverse.
I think in EdTech space, I would like to foresee, and I definitely foresee a big boom coming in gaming as a mode of education industry. We as an organization are also trying to learn certain aspects of it. I would be glad to share that while acquiring thousands of clients in Nigeria, we had applied a lean customer acquisition strategy through gaming. And for us, at least it worked. Now, we are working towards something wherein we take a data from Reliance chairman who quoted recently that India's gaming industry is going to surpass the entire film, television and other industries combined in the next 3 years, and its volume is supposed to be 20 times of the entire industry turnover. So I feel that education technology companies should also focus to take a small chunk from that volume. If they succeed, then I'll be very happy.
I'd like to see the real diffusion of blockchain within the EdTech sphere, for the end-to-end experience of a learner. A lot of times, from experience, what we have seen is maybe someone from a country with limited exposure to technology wants to learn a program, then we see them facing numerous challenges, even if they make an effort to and get the access to the portals. There are so many aspects to it. For example, paying the fee. A lot of times because of regulations, the fees doesn't go through. And so, I mean, when you have something like blockchain, wherein the end-to-end supply chain can be much more feasible, and I'd like to see that happening to create a win-win for EdTech platforms and learners from around the globe. Yeah.
Yes, for me, I would like to see a change in the learning management system to be really smart learning management system using the technology in the education field. So I think can be started from the planning the course or designing the course to understand the student needs through the technology, through the AI. And this is also will continue to do the learning delivery. So how can we deliver the teaching in a way that make the students more engaging and also make him more interesting in the course. And we continue until do the assessment. So how can the AI or the new technology help us to do a very fair assessment? And this is very important. So how can we do the technology help to give the students online feedback? It's a closed loop feedback, so they understand their lack, their needs, and provide the optimum solution or the optimum recommendation for them. Also, they can provide or recommend them books, references, videos, others based on their needs and their gaps. So once we have this kind of complete cycle using the technology, so now we have a smart learning management system that is able to track the student performance and student engagement, and also will improve his learning experience and outcomes.
Right. I'll have the last word on this. That's okay. I know we're running out of time, but my simple answer is all of the above. Yeah. and more, a system that includes everything that's been talked about, building up on what you said. Fundamentally, technology in education is basically means to an end. Yeah, we use technology to serve the purpose of education, and education is going to mean different things to different people, different learners, right? So making it as adaptive as possible, making it as intelligent and immersive as possible, and using gamification to massively engage the student or the learner is a potentially very, very, very powerful tool to do that, because obviously the one-on-one interaction as such is not always there. I'm not saying that it's not there at all. There are systems that make it happen, but gamification makes it even more engaging and immersive for the students to go through that learning experience. And having said that, one always has to bear one thing in mind. Whatever technology does, I think we can never forget the role of the human as the teacher and the human as the student in it. So the dream system of the world incorporates all technical aspects, but always incorporates the human element both on the teacher and the student side.
Thank you everyone. So
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for our panelists. Another amazing panel discussion.